on an all-new Dr. Phil, the rodeo queen who landed in an orange jumpsuit.
I said, Mom, I'm in jail and I've been charged with murder.
Falsely accused.
Was this a drug deal gone bad?
It wasn't like there was drugs all over the table.
So you're really going to tell her that's okay?
Now,
if you roll with pigs, you're going to get muddy.
her life is out of control.
You're smoking during your pregnancy.
My bean is happy. My bean's like, I don't want to stare at
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things. Stand by, Dr. Phil. I'll try to be an emotional compass and point you in the right direction. In 5, 4. I am not giving up on you. Go, Dr. Phil. You know, Kezia is a mother that says she always wanted her 2 daughters, Derica and Tristan, to grow up happy, healthy, and have a life filled with love. She says she did everything she could to be a good mom. She raised her girls in a beautiful home in an affluent neighborhood, never missing one band performance or swim meet. The oldest, Derica, was even crowned Miss Humble Rodeo. And let me tell you, in Texas, that's a big deal. So how did this rodeo queen go from wearing a tiara to wearing an orange jumpsuit behind bars with her face splashed all over the media?
My sister is the queen of being in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people.
When Derica's 18, she started hanging out with a little more questionable crowd. People who had some convictions, but there wasn't anything I could do about it. She was 18.
My sister lies. She's stolen from me. She's destroyed everything in her path.
I think Derica's going down a very dark and destructive path that she may never find her way out of again.
It is a path so destructive, in fact, that Derica ended up in jail for the murder of her best friend. Now, talk about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Take a look at this.
That night was probably the most shocking, scariest night of my life. Will and I got back from Waco, Texas, picking up a friend. We came back to his house. We were sitting there in bed talking. Then the door flies open and a person came in and shot my best friend right in the bed next to me. I was kidnapped. The shooter had me leave with them and forced me to a house nearby. They held me against my will, and I thought, this is where I'm gonna die. They have to get rid of me. 12 hours later, SWAT kicked in the door, grabbed me, threw me to the ground, handcuffed me. They take me down to get my statement. I tried to tell the police that I had nothing to do with Will's death. And I thought I would be giving my story and my mom would be coming to come pick me up. No, next thing you know, I'm being charged with first-degree murder.
Cammy Jo and Derica were arrested in connection to the murder.
They booked me, shackled me from my feet to my hands, around my waist. I was an inmate. I believe I was in jail for 6 days. Within an hour of giving my second statement, they dropped the charges and released me. My mom was waiting outside for me, and I jumped in her arms and was just like, get me out of here before they change their mind. I cried all the way home. My life got worse after Will's murder. After I was released, I hid for like a month. I didn't really want to venture out. It was still so fresh in the media and so fresh with everybody. I just kind of stayed away. People on social media were very ugly. People called me a murderer, poor, crackhead, a worthless piece of scum in society. I did an interview with a local news channel after I was released. Next thing I'm talking to my friend. And, somebody comes in and starts shooting him. People were negative and ugly. They thought that I was definitely guilty and that I didn't look sorry. I feel like Will's murder is going to haunt me for the rest of my life.
Okay, this is just hard to even wrap your head around. So what you're saying is you two were, this is a friend, you two were out, you come home and you're laying on the bed. Were you in bed asleep?
We were in bed talking to each other, like fixing to go to sleep.
You don't hear them coming, you don't know, they just kick the door open and start blazing away, start shooting.
Yeah, like the door comes open and the gunshots were already being fired as the door came open. So you kind of, your brain can't compute really what's going on. All you just hear is this loud commotion, and you just see somebody, and you don't really, like, 'cause I guess you don't think that that's what's happening. So you're kind of just.
Well, who would? I mean, it's shocking, right?
It's very shocking. It seems like everything slowed down in slow motion, pretty much. Just kind of like you can't.
And how are you not shot?
Because Willie, he saved my life. He covered me up.
To shield you. And he was shot multiple times?
Yes.
And did you know he was dead at this point? Could you tell?
No, he wasn't dead at this point. He's all I could say is a very, very strong man, and could take a lot.
Right. But you knew he was mortally wounded. You knew it was bad.
He was very bad.
But they take you at this point. Did you wonder why they didn't kill you there?
My only thing is that I guess, you're not really thinking that I am. The only things I'm thinking about is Will needs help, and why aren't the neighbors, why isn't somebody breaking in the door? Why aren't cops, like, they're already, like, hearing all of this? I mean, it's loud. It's very loud.
So they take you to another house and hold you until a SWAT team comes crashing in there.
Yep.
Why would they not listen to you when you said, I am not a perp here, I'm a victim, I was kidnapped?
They told me because they were told that I was there, and since they didn't know, what they initially told me was, since I didn't report a crime, like since I didn't dial 911 and call them and tell them what had happened, that I was considered an accomplice.
What did you think? How did you hear about this?
Oh, Lord. It was about, I guess now that I know, about 12 hours after they had found her. I got up in the morning, went to my voicemail and checked it, and all I could hear was crying. And you know your child's voice even when they're crying. And her trying to say something, but none of it made sense. I couldn't understand her.
As soon as I said, Mom, I'm in jail, and
I've been charged with murder.
All of a sudden, you get this phone call, I've been charged with murder.
And then
what goes through a mother's mind at that moment?
The world stops. It's like you can't breathe. It's the first time in my life that I've ever been taken down to my knees.
Did your mother tell you about this?
She did, and she just fell to her knees and screaming at the top of her lungs. And I grabbed her shoulders and I said, Mom, you need to calm down. Please tell me what's going on. And she said, your sister's been charged with first-degree murder. And at that point, I just lost it.
You spend 6 of the longest days of your life locked up in a cage charged with a murder, and people looking at you like you did this with a $250,000 bond. But as they sort this out, they determine that you didn't kill anybody, you were shot at, not shooting at anyone.
Right.
And essentially the charges are dropped and dismissed, and you are released.
Yes.
And at that point, you start getting a lot of social media backlash, right?
You know, my sister and my mom tried to both tell me not to read the things that people said.
Well, we scrubbed through that, and it was harsh. They started saying things, lying through her teeth. She's a murderer. Interrogate her more. She's a killer. Her story makes no sense. She's not innocent. Don't trust her. She's an addict and a liar. She needs to go down. Don't believe anything she says. You're guilty. Her parents paid for her freedom. She's trash. She's a party girl and a killer. Bought her innocence. I mean, you just got attacked by these people, right?
Yeah, I did.
Well, up next, Tristan says her sister's dangerous behavior started long before she was falsely accused of murder. Kezia says Derica will disappear for days at a time and has even planned her daughter's funeral in her head. We'll talk about that next.
I was 14 when I started experimenting with drugs. My drug of choice was meth. This is hard to sit here and to go on national TV and say that you're a meth addict is a really scary thing.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil, she found flirty emails and much more.
Glittered lip gloss, pink hair, a broken red fingernail.
Is her husband a cheater?
Do you think for a second this man was in bed with a woman and never laid a glove on her?
No, I don't believe that.
He says he's been faithful,
You seem very smug about this whole thing.
but she says he's full of it.
You say you need to know you've been violated. You already know. You just don't want to own it.
That's tomorrow. The show.
I was 14 when I started experimenting with drugs. First was alcohol, then I started smoking pot. And it wasn't until 15 or 16 that I started trying harder drugs like cocaine, ecstasy. My drug of choice is meth. I've been using methamphetamines for 3 years. I went from smoking it to snorting it, back to smoking it, and I've been an IV meth user, intravenous meth user for about the last 6 months. This is hard to sit here and to go on national TV and say that you're a meth addict is a really scary thing. This is not a drug that that people admit that they do. They're not looked at as good people. They're not. They are the lowest of the low. I think even heroin addicts are looked at better than meth users are nowadays. I found out I was pregnant in February. I'm approximately 7 to 8 weeks pregnant. I've been sober for about 5 weeks. I'm scared that I won't be able to stay sober. And there's a part of me, do I want to stay sober?
Well, Kezia says when Erica is using drugs, she is mean and disrespectful. Tristan is embarrassed that her sister uses drugs, and Derica brings shame to their family. Take a look.
Our life is as close as you can get to a Lifetime movie without the glamour, the special effects. It's that drama part, that suspense that you're waiting for when something good doesn't happen.
I believe that Derica's full-blown addiction with meth was from 2012 to February of 2015. After Will's death, it was like putting a match to gasoline on her addiction. We felt like our house was a revolving door. When she would come home, she would typically look for a reason to pick a fight or try to say that I was trying to pick a fight so that she could have her excuse to go out and use again.
I am highly embarrassed that my sister does drugs at all, let alone meth. A drug addiction like that gives my family a very bad image. It's something that we're pretty much ashamed of. I found out my sister was pregnant 3 to 4 weeks ago. As far as I know, Derica is sober today. I don't know if Derica can stay clean during this pregnancy. Based on the past, I have to hold some sort of belief that she's going to fail.
So this is affecting everybody is the point, right?
Absolutely. Everybody.
You're concerned. You're concerned about her, or you're concerned about being embarrassed?
I'm concerned about both. I mean, she's the only sibling I have.
Nobody wants a sister that's a meth addict.
It's not what I'm saying.
I mean, it's true.
What's your attitude about this at this point?
I'm just afraid that I'm going to bury her, you know, that I'm not going to be able to say the right thing or do the right thing, get her the right help, whatever I need to do to save her life.
Why did these people kick the door down?
I don't know.
Was this random?
I don't believe so.
Was this a drug deal gone bad?
I didn't know this person or these.
There have been 2 arrests now. The 2 people have been arrested. They're charged with first-degree murder. They're in jail.
Yes.
Do you take any ownership for
Oh my God.
being in a situation where you were in harm's way?
Yes, both of us made choices that obviously led us up to being in a situation that, you know, i.e. I was with him at the time. So, you know, we were friends because, you know, we met in a certain social situations and by doing things that we shouldn't be doing.
Before this situation, before the murder happened, they were actually being a good friend to someone else and helping them out. They had went to pick someone up to bring them back to our area so that they wouldn't miss their PO's, you know,
Appointment, because they were out of town and they couldn't find a ride back.
and so
to
they
Houston.
drove to go to bring them back so that
Willie had a huge heart.
they weren't doing anything. There wasn't, you know,
We weren't out running the
nefarious
streets.
going on.
We
It was
weren't
going and helping someone.
Well, what you just said was the most telling 30 seconds of the entire time we've been here.
No, I know that, but what I'm just trying to say is,
Now, what you just said was, I know that, but.
yeah, you're right.
I know that, but. That was the most telling 30 seconds of the time here. Your daughter
I know.
gets caught up in the crossfire of an obviously bad, volatile situation
Right.
with really bad, volatile people kicking down a door.
I understand that.
And you start saying, well, actually it was okay because, see, they were actually just. So you're really
No,
going to try to put a frame
No,
around
I'm not
that
trying to put a
and
frame
tell
around it
her
at all.
that's okay?
No, what I was trying to do was just set up that night, just that moment in time, that they were helping someone out.
And
That's
your
it.
point is?
My point is you were asking her what her theory was and stuff like that. It wasn't like there was drugs all over the table at that moment.
You weren't there.
Are you trying to contextualize this in that in that split second, they weren't shooting up or buying and selling drugs, and therefore the momentum, trend, pattern of their life should be disregarded?
No, not at all.
What is your point then?
My point was is that they were just doing something normal for a moment.
We went on an impromptu road trip. We came back. We thought we were going to bed. We weren't doing anything that we would have foreseen anything negative happening at that moment. Maybe that's what she was trying to
But
trying
that's
to say.
justifying. To
Yeah,
me, that's
and you know
justifying
what?
I'm not saying that I
All
was
I'm saying
justifying.
is you roll with pigs, you're going to get muddy.
You're right.
And the pigs like it.
You're right. I agree.
Up next, Tristan says Derica knows exactly how to play their mom to get what she wants. We've just seen a perfect example of that. We're going to find out what Derica's doing next.
I tell my mom all the time that she's enabling Derica.
We're always so scared that if we push her or make her do something that she doesn't want to do, at that moment she could leave again.
It's kind of ironic to say, but she does get away with murder.
Did you get married when you were both broke, but now your partner is really successful? Or is your partner already wealthy, but you're not, and you're getting ready to tie the knot? Well, if your partner has asked you to sign a prenuptial or postnuptial agreement, and now you feel betrayed and don't know what to do, then you need to email me at drphil.com, because we got some thoughts.
I'm Maurice.
In 2011, Derica was married. The marriage lasted a little over a year. I think the divorce had a lot to do with Derica going into harder drugs. She felt like a failure, that it was all her fault. That's when her drug addiction kicked in. Derica's had several miscarriages. She even had a stillborn that was named Wyatt, that we had to bury.
I honestly think that the monumental moment when she started abusing drugs was when she lost her son.
One of the things that Derica's dealing with is what she considers her failures. One was Wyatt, another one is her marriage failing, and then what happened to Will. I don't think she can handle another failure. I'm so afraid that if she can't keep this pregnancy, then I'm going to lose her. I'm going to lose her to her addiction.
Well, a year and a half ago, Derica says her best friend was shot and killed right in front of her, but she was charged with his murder. After spending 6 days in jail, Derica says the charges were dropped and she was free to go. But when she walked out of that jail, she took a whole new set of problems with her. Derica's mom, Kezia, says since the murder, her daughter has struggled with drugs even more. Derica's sister, Tristan, says life with Derica right now is a nightmare and says their mom is a huge part of the problem.
I tell my mom all the time that she's enabling Derica. She just doesn't see it. My mom lets Derica sit around the house all day, usually sleep. She doesn't really give her much to do. It's kind of ironic to say, but she does get away with murder.
Derica gets away with a lot more in the household because of her addiction. We're always so scared that if we push her or make her do something that she doesn't want to do, at that moment she could leave again.
My mom bribes Derica a lot. It even happened today. In order to get my sister to come do the sit-down interview, my mom told her that for her doing this, that she would get her cell phone turned back on. I came here because I wanted to be here.
I hate that I've made concessions because of Derica's addiction that I would never do for Tristan. I expect more out of Tristan than I do Derica. Well, I'm going to get bashed by Dr. Phil for enabling him. That's going to be hard.
I've dealt with a lot of addicts. And there's one thing you always look for that predicts whether somebody has a genuine chance to get better or not. And that's insight. Do they have truly the ability to have insight, to look at themselves and see what is really there? And do they have a willingness to be forthcoming? When she sat down and we started asking her questions, she was very forthcoming, and she showed some genuine insight into her self-destructive ways. And that suggests to me that somewhere in there is a very intelligent young woman that at some level gets it and at some level wants the hell off of this merry-go-round. I really believe that.
Yeah.
Now, I also understand that there is a really big drug monster on the other end of that rope that's pulling her really hard, because there's a real big part of her that wishes the hell we would just shut up, leave her alone, let her go back in a room alone with her drugs, and just let her do whatever she wants to do. I get that too. I've seen that. But there's a point at which you've got to make a decision as to whether or not you're going to make choices, Mom, based on what makes you feel better in the moment by allaying your own fear and anxiety of your daughter dying because of a choice you made, or you're going to make decisions that gives her a chance to get better.
That's why I'm here.
Because you hear this buzzword, enable, enable, enable. Enabling just means you reward bad behavior. Somebody does drugs and you say, okay, you can sleep here. Okay, I'll give you your cell phone. You have a bad policy for managing her, and you need to stop doing that or butt out, one of the two, because unlike you, I don't have a need to be loved by your daughter. This is your 6th pregnancy, according to you?
Yes.
You've had 1 stillborn and 4 miscarriages.
Yes.
But you're smoking during your pregnancy. Closed captioning provided by...
Together, we can make your blonde, blonde. Sheer Blonde by John Frieda lightens and brightens hair 2 full shades. Me and John and Sheer Blonde.
Derica claims she's been clean and sober for 5 weeks because she's pregnant. I don't know whether she is or she's not. However, she hasn't been able to quit one behavior that could be quite harmful. Now, during the interview, Derica asked to take breaks quite often to go smoke. Now, just remember, we have said she's 7 or 8 weeks pregnant. She has been pregnant. This is her 6th time, correct? This is your 6th pregnancy, according to you?
Yes.
You've had 1 stillborn and 4 miscarriages.
Yes.
And you say this is not associated with your drug use, but because you have a physical problem.
Yes.
With incompetent cervix.
Yes.
Which is a very real thing. I understand that. It's not helped by certain things that you may do.
Obviously.
You're smoking during your pregnancy. You know, I mean, you've heard smoking's bad for you, right?
Yeah. A few times.
Mom, don't act like an angel.
No, I'm not acting like an angel.
You've done
smoked
it
when I was
too.
pregnant
Well,
with
let's-
them. I'm not, I mean, I'm
When
not gonna lie about
you
it.
come to the Dr. Phil show, you sign a release that says you understand that you are in a taped environment
No, I understand.
at all times.
But
Take a look at this tape.
At least I'm not doing meth.
Right now, yes, and I am so proud of you.
I mean, my bean is happy. My bean's like, oh, there, you know.
Oh my gosh. What am I doing?
I feel like I'm gonna throw up.
My bean is happy. My bean is like, bring on the smoke. And she's having that conversation with who?
Me.
With her mother. And you can contextualize this like you did the other. Well, but she wasn't doing meth.
Nope, I'm gonna try.
Have you done meth once while you were pregnant?
Before I knew.
You remember what you said your biggest fear is right now? You told us in the interview? You said your biggest fear right now is using.
Yeah.
You said, I know I'm pregnant, my biggest fear right now is using. You said, quote, the demon in my head
Yeah.
makes me,
There's a part of me that
it's pulling on you, I know.
it's really hard.
Just so we're really clear, I want everybody to take a look at a baby that is born from an addict mother. It's having full body tremors. It's low body weight. It can't stop. It can't eat. It's in excruciating pain. You can see it's emaciated. It's just in terrible, terrible pain and addiction. And of course, has to go through withdrawal and has innumerable problems. And of course, the baby, you can't explain why it's hurting so badly. That is the reality. Up next, Tristan says she's done everything to be a good kid. She's in school, does her chores, pays her bills. And she says she gets no attention from her mom. You might be surprised to hear what Kezia has to say about it. And I'm going to start talking about what I think needs to happen to make this dysfunctional family one that has a chance of succeeding for everybody. We'll be right back.
Tomorrow on an all-new Dr. Phil. Is this evidence
Pink hair, a broken red fingernail.
that her husband is cheating?
He was in bed with another woman in a hotel and never laid a glove on her. I'm sorry, I don't believe you.
That's tomorrow.
Closed captioning provided by...
Get serious about leaving with the Libman Freedom Spray Mop. A high-tech absorbent microfiber pad and perfect pattern spray mean you're done in no time. Libman, family made since 1896.
When your daughter is in the midst of an addiction and then losing her friend the way she did, you start anticipating that you're going to end up burying your child. You wonder, is today going to be the day? So I found myself planning her funeral in my head, usually late at night. I was a florist for 20 plus years, and one of my greatest and proudest moments was doing the flowers for my daughter's wedding. I went from doing her flowers for the happiest day of her life to thinking about having to do it for the saddest day of my life, for her funeral. If Derica doesn't get help, I'm probably going to end up burying my daughter.
Derica was falsely accused of murdering her best friend over a year ago. Derica's sister Tristan says she's fed up with her sister and frustrated with her mother because Derica gets all of her attention.
My sister and I grew up with loving parents in a wonderful, beautiful home. We couldn't have asked for more. From a very young age, I would follow Derica everywhere. I always wanted to be by her side.
When we were kids, my sister and I had a really good relationship. As we got older, we started seeing life very differently. I'm night, Tristan's day. She doesn't understand my choices. And then I feel like a failure next to her because she's, you know, done it all right.
My life has been revolving around Derica the last 3 years. It's 24/7. My whole day consists of either worrying or taking care of Derica.
My mom and I make it a point to plan days together, to go out, to go for lunch. My mom plans our time around what Derica's doing, how Derica's feeling, sleeping, breathing. We're kind of talking about her all the time right now, and I really want us to have time together.
And I can't help but worry. I mean, you can't. Most of the time when I'm with Tristan, I'm thinking about where is Derica? Is she okay? It never stops.
I constantly tell my mom, and sometimes I yell at her because I'm so mad. I feel like the attention is taken off of me and I didn't do anything wrong. Maybe that's what I'm most angry about. Why punish the kid who does everything right?
What do you want to say, Mom?
It's very hard. And I wish they would have given me a manual at some point on how to handle all this stuff. Tristan is amazing. I know this has affected her. And I've tried to do my best with it to not hurt her, but I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to do it right. I'm so proud of her. I'm beyond proud of her.
I'm proud of her too. And like, I know I'm your big sister and you should be able to look up to me, but really I look up to you. And I hope that I get better so that I can be a better role model for you, because I haven't been, and I'm really, 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 really sorry.
If, and I say this to you, as the mother, if there was a formula, if there was a blueprint, a plan to turn this whole situation around and get this family ship sailing in the right direction, do you want to know it no matter
no.
no matter what?
No matter what.
It requires.
I'm obviously not doing it right. And if someone could help me, walk me through this so that I could be a better mother, that not to just her, but to definitely to her in a hot minute.
You've done a lot of really right things. But the question is, what do you do now when you're in some rough waters? And that's the question. And there is an answer. And it's got multiple parts, and I'm going to tell you what it is after the break.
Did you use the loo paper in there?
Did.
How was it?
It's good.
Why do you think that the ripples work?
It gets it all clean.
Are you so clean that you would go commando?
Okay.
How do you feel?
Oh, awesome.
Will was wearing this bandana in the photos that I took of him before he was killed. I carry it every day, everywhere with me. I don't ever leave home without it. It's either in my purse, it's tied around my leg, it's wrapped in my hair, but it's always close by. And I just think it's my little piece of him. He's always with me. I miss Will every day. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about him.
You know, first off, this was somebody that she did genuinely care about, whether you call it romantic or just really good, deep, caring friendship, whether it was a drug bond or whatever, it meant something to her at the time. And to lose someone, you grieve that loss. To lose someone violently in your presence is a huge loss. And so she's grieving this. And for it to be happened with gunshots and then to be abducted and not know if you're going to be killed because she's seen these people, these things create a lot of anxiety. And it sounds to me that she is going through a tick list of PTSD symptomatology. I mean, if you look at the list of PTSD symptoms, dreams and nightmares, yes. Intrusive recollections, yes. Reliving the trauma as illusions, hallucinations, dissociative flashbacks at times, intense psychological distress at exposure to cues like loud noises or whatever. Those things trigger you. Right. You have physiological reactions to the cues, avoiding thoughts or feelings or conversations, avoiding activities, places, or people. She absolutely withdrew for a month. Is completely off the radar for a month. Feelings of detachment, irritability, or aggressive behavior. She says she either lashes out or goes into a fetal position and cries. All of this is going on. She is almost a perfect fit for the symptoms of PTSD. This has to be dealt with and treated, and it is not. Right. Then you started self-medicating. You went up dramatically, and you know, what is it you're self-medicating? Well, we said you're going through grief, you're going through depression. I think you're probably going through PTSD. You've got a high degree of anxiety that we've seen. I think you clearly have survivor's guilt. Why you survived instead of him? You're questioning that, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, my God, how much can somebody take? Then they go, okay, I'm going to self-medicate so I can zone out and not think about this. Oh, I'm pregnant. I have to stop that. So now the coping mechanism I had as self-destructive as it is, now that's gone. Now I have nothing. Okay, so now I can't do that. So now I'm just raw. I have nothing. I have all of these things, and now you've taken that away from me. Thank you very much. That pretty much cover it?
Yes.
How am I doing?
Very good.
If I run a red light, stop me.
No. Very good.
Coming up, something I discovered in Derica's pre-interview that has me very concerned. I'll tell you what it is. Plus, William's mom, Patsy, is here, and she has a very important message I want Derica to hear. We'll talk to her after the break. Closed captioning provided by
Feel free.
one statement buried about 75 pages into all the information, and she poses the question, you know, maybe they're just better off without me.
I feel that way.
Now, Mom, that's the #1 thought among people that take their own lives. You know, there's somebody here that certainly wishes, as a mother, that her child had a second chance. This is Will's mother, Patsy, and she's here. What did you want to say to Derica, Patsy?
She's my only hope for my son to get justice.
What do you want for her now?
I want her to get well. I want her to have peace.
Putting you into a simple rehab program is not sufficient because you have a lot going on. Anxiety and depression and PTSD, and some of these things are neurological, and that means that you need a multidisciplinary treatment team that deals with the neurology, the biochemistry, the psychology, as well as the addiction, all of these things that take all of this into account as well as the pregnancy. And I am prepared to offer you exactly that, a dual diagnosis, multidisciplinary treatment facility. And this is, its origins behavioral health care. It hosts the nation's leading dual diagnosis treatment centers in Texas and Florida, and they have a... And I want you to do this for you. I want you to do it for your baby. I want you to do it for your family. So I'm making that offer. Will you do this and do it right?
Yes. Yes, thank you.
All right. I want to thank all of my guests today, and a special thanks to those at Origins. If you have a family member that's suffering from addiction or PTSD, log on to drphil.com for more information. We will see you next time.
So I appreciate it. Thank you.